Hello, my name is Danielle Spencer, and I am a public administration student with the American Public University, class of 2000 and something. I am here to talk about how the human relations era in the United States has impacted public administration. The beginning of the human relations era, otherwise known as the Age of Human Relations, began as early as the 1920s with the Hawthorne studies done at Western Electric outside of Chicago. Prior to this era, business administration had a focus based on the theories of scientific management. Scientific management focused on analyzation and improvements on workflows for the purpose of production. We mostly think of this in terms of an industrial dark ages that included sweatshops and the labor of miners, where the miners, and adults alike worked long hours under often deplorable conditions. The individuals were not valued, and it showed. The idea of human relations builds on the principles of improving work productivity, but takes into consideration the needs of individual workers. We see this a lot in today's business and management world, and I think we can all agree that it was much needed. As I mentioned, the Hawthorne studies are the most prominent work that help us to understand and apply the ideas of human relations in public administration. From scientific management, we move into addressing the social and emotional needs of an individual as the method of improving employee satisfaction to increase productivity. Let's talk about those social and emotional needs for a moment. We know that the hierarchy of needs comes from Abraham Maslow's work. Maslow believed that our motivations build in a hierarchy format, where one base level must be satisfied before being able to address the next level. This is a very rudimentary way to look at this hierarchy, but consider this. We all likely know or have known individuals, maybe an elementary school playmate or a neighbor, that have experienced a hard life, where money was short and clean clothes and trendy snacks were limited. We know that those children struggle with academics due to this. Breakfast or reduced lunch and after-school programs were created to help address these basic needs, with the end benefit in helping the student to improve academically and become able to support themselves and their families alike. One theory of motivation that I'd like to discuss here is Douglas McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. I like to think that Theory X individuals find work bothersome and worth avoiding are people that don't have their basic needs met. Those X people have the opportunity to become Theory Y individuals when properly motivated to do so. It's a leader's job to facilitate these types of behaviors, these positive behaviors. And if it means taking a deep look at the basic physiological and safety needs of the employee's home life and work environment, then the manager will receive a greater benefit and through greater productivity. The human relations era obviously grew out of a time where hard work was taking a toll on the population of workers. Managers were recognizing that the changes needed to be made in order to have a better work environment with better outcomes. Social sciences were teaching us about the value of interpersonal relationships and productive thinking. Organizations, including government, were motivated to improve business situations and business practices for a better quality of life for all, both the business and the humans running it. An example of quality improvement were the Hawthorne studies. The premise of the Hawthorne studies was to look at the effect of changes in lighting in a work area to improve productivity. What came out of these studies were much greater data. We learned more about the influences and benefits of group work and dynamics. These studies showed us how important it is to have an emotionally supportive and socially engaging work environment. In other words, people feel special when they are given attention from management, whether the environment is ideal or not. Similar to the Hawthorne studies, we know about Mary Follett's work in the study of social and group dynamics. Her work may not have been recognized in the business world while she was living, but her work helps us to understand a lot about human relations. Follett believed that conflict in a social setting is essential essential to organizational function. Leaders have the responsibility to lead groups. They must foster a healthy environment for group dynamics and a flow of information, and then show how these ideas are put into action. It is a tool that can be used to create good ideas. Teams of individuals work together to make good decisions and solve problems. From all groups, it's likely that an individual will not only learn about others in the group, but also about themselves. Tie this in with Maslow's hierarchy, and we recognize that teams can help people feel validated by feeding their esteem in these group environments. Social promotion occurs in a group settings, and those leaders become higher levels of management in an organization, often especially when their ideas are good enough to be implemented. Let's stop for a moment and consider how these concepts contribute to public administration. First, consider politics in our United States. We have the Democrats, we have the Republicans, and a few independents in between. They're elected, they come together to come up with plans to put into law to make the country a better place, really. Political party performance has been analyzed to the nth degree, and we know a lot about how and why individuals vote the way that they do. We know that a politician is likely to get a better outcome on his or her interests based on seniority alone, but he or she cannot become senior without having great leadership skills, including social group navigation. Conflict in an organization such as our government, as we know from Follett, is healthy, as it can be grounds to construct an outline of a bill. Follett said, "The best leader has no followers, but men and women working with him. The great leader wants to be a leader of leaders." To me, she is saying that control is not delegated to one person, but to all in a group or organization, such as our government. Frederick Mosher specifically teaches about how we need public management and research incorporated into our practices. Our political representatives have unique roles and pressures, and research helps us to understand those resulting behaviors. It is to our benefit to provide education and support to those great leaders and use the checks and balances system through the power of our votes to manage them. I was told by a previous supervisor that there are no better critics than a supervisee. If we take a look at the government officials as our supervisors, then we have a role to vote them in or out. Mosher also taught us that some individuals are motivated to be public servants. These individuals seek to improve efficiency in a public organization, and it is our benefit to support them. In this past week's study, we've learned about the progression from scientific management to human relations and how important it is to understand motivations of our leaders and staff. The interaction of people promote positive results in the production of successful outcomes. We as leaders in our organization have the opportunity and responsibility to read our situations, environments, and coworkers in order to produce a harmonious and successful organization. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me and my presentation on the human relations era.